Hi, my name is Smriti, and this is my presentation on the topic. So this portfolio is basically it reflects my professional transformation throughout this AQ with Trent about the special education part two. So this presentation or portfolio is like I drew this on my 4 years working as an ECE and 2 years working as an occasional teacher. And I've also included my prior learning experiences and teaching experiences from India. So this synthesis shows how my understanding of inclusive pedagogy, assessment, family partnerships, and using assistive technological devices has completely evolved to align with the ministry standards and student-centered advocacy. Before I begin, so these are the professional foundations and course integration. Since I'm coming from an ECE background, I used to view inclusion like, okay, we have students with special needs, so we can give them a preferred seating arrangement in the classroom, and then we can give our instruction, go on with the teaching as usual, and that's inclusive in nature. But no, it's more of professional learning, having professional knowledge and commitment to students' learning, some of the leadership opportunities as well. I had a little knowledge about what strategies we can use in the classroom to make it more inclusive. So far, my core alignment dimensions have been connecting with each module, both professionally and personally. And if I talk about module one, my focus was on inclusion. For this, um, it involves culturally responsive and inclusive pedagogy, Ontario policy frameworks, that is the Regulation 181/98, growing success and learning for all. These were the Ontario documents. Third would be the student agency and community positioning. How can we position students and partners as co and active designers? And from module 4, I've taken the assessment and evaluation. That means triangulation of assessment using students' products, observations, and conversations for universal design of learning. So my module first is I picked up this topic that my focus is inclusion from module one, and the selected focuses were Bill 82, Regulation 181 by 98, Kyung's need to belong, and the reading we had to do about the Stacy's chair by Inaki. So now historically, the bill guaranteed that every child would be having access to regular classrooms, and it also prioritized regular class placements. However, what I felt and through reading through the connection and connecting with the course modules, that placement alone is insufficient, right? So what I felt was I assumed that a child who's typically labeled as diverse learner or physical, or if a child is physically inside a general classroom, meant they were included, but no, they were not. So after reading Inaki's analysis of Stacy's chair, and we got to know that okay, how she was sitting, I mean how the child was in the classroom with the EA, it completely shattered that assumption of mine. So it also forced me to look back at my experience as an ECE, as an occasional teacher, both in Ontario and from India, and recall moments that where a child with complex needs were placed at a side table with an EA, they were doing their own thing and I was teaching. This shouldn't be the scenario moving forward. And a child, if they're physically present in the room, yet they're completely isolated from their peer dynamics, is what we need to work on. So inclusion is not something that is physical, it has to be something that can be felt as well. If a stranger or somebody walks into a classroom while instruction is still in progress, the class should look inclusive in nature. For the Norman Conk's reading, it highlights that belonging is a fundamental human need. We all need that need. And it's not a reward that can be earned after a student becomes typical. So, under Regulation 181 by 98, while placement in a regular classroom is the baseline, uh, only true inclusion can happen intentional when there is intentional planning by the teacher done beforehand with her lesson plans, and so that the students uh, are holding authentic membership in the classroom rather than just thinking and what are we going to do next. For module 2, I there were so many readings and so many areas of focus I wanted to work on, but this thing was on I wanted to work and talk on this, that using assistive technology as an equity portal. Um, Assistive technologies are something that I believe all the children in the classroom should have access to and should use. So my focus was on special equipment amount funding, multifunctional assistive technology, and I used Simpson's text context. So basically, since I worked with both young learners and school students, so you can quickly tell how a child can think, oh no, I'm not doing well or I'm lagging behind. If they're lagging behind in literacy or numeracy or language decoding or phonemes, phonetics, anything. So students freeze and then they wonder sometimes when they're asked to write a single sentence, let alone the paragraph. So even if they have their ideas, abstract ideas, they can bring it to words and sentences. So in exploring to high-tech tools, like we have so many assistive technologies like speech to text and text to speech are amazing. Even for English language learners, they're amazing. So when these are funded through grants, so I realized that assistive technology is not a shortcut that we can provide to the student and our job is done. Or it's not a crutch, it's a fundamental human rights accommodation, and yes, we do require it in our classrooms. So Simpson et al. Said that assistive technology only fails and it does not produce results when it's imposed without training or any further context. We as educators must normalize to use the AT for the whole classroom so that the student who is using the special equipment amount or any SEA laptop, they do not feel stigmatized. Okay, am I the only one using this? So again, that could be used as inclusive but not inclusive in the total sense. For module 3, this there were again amazing topics that I could have like choose from, but I chose working with families because many a times educators they try to include families, but they think that since they are educators, so they might know better than families. But in fact, families have been raising their own children, so who can know their children better than parents, right? So including families and reframing them as co-educators and partnership in education. So for this, my module was shifting from informing parents to seeing them as true partners. And for this, my selected focus was text again, that's Stacy's chair, parent advocacy and relational partnerships. Um, in many schools, parents of exceptional learners are again they are treated as passive observers who are usually taking a back seat. Or they're labeled as, oh no, they're difficult when they advocate forcefully for their children. So, drawing from my own teaching experiences, I mean, from both the countries, it can be very intimidating for parents when they attend school meetings, for families, especially when educators are surrounding them with professional terminologies or jargons and um, showing them that they are deficit in these languages and these theories. So, after reading the text, it was certain that parents are the ultimate experts on their children. Who, again, who can know their children better than the parents? So, moving forward, I would always make a point to include parents, even making in any decisions about letting them know about the child's milestones, to what they did, and what are the moving strategies gonna look like. uh, when when we include them and view them as equal partners, that's when we see success, and definitely it makes a drastic change in child's learning. For the last module, my focus was again on assessment and evaluation. I had very limited knowledge on this, so I also took another AQ on assessment and evaluation with Trent before. So for this, my focus is on assessment for as and off learning in special education. I have used some of the stuff from Growing Success and triangulation of evidence and metacognition. So, as per Growing Success, assessment must be used as a tool to drive learning forward and inform our instruction. By using triangulation of evidence and having proof of students' work, such as their journals, drawings, art, formative like quizzes, summative like year-end projects, an educator like we can assess how far along they are in their understanding, and then we can change our instruction based on the learning gap. So assessment is most useful when we want to identify the learning gaps and change our instruction, our lesson plan based on that. um, for example, um, when we were supposed to work on for example, when we were supposed to work on an IEP, and we were given an IEP blank template to create a IEP for Jessie. How would I say that assessment was useful? Because, sir, as per the search observation, she saw that Jessie could be best suited for giving her an assistive technology, and she would be she could do wonders when she can use her responses, including that laptop and recording her digital presentation that she can use to demonstrate her grade 8 actual level critical thinking, right? Because she was diagnosed with communication learning disability. So had not the teacher observed Jessie through her anecdotal notes or journals, or her through her products, or through her any other thing, how would she know that Jessie would have performed better by using this than that? So ultimately it comes down to teachers, that how they're assessing the student, in what ways they're assessing the student, and what are they thinking of doing next to change their instruction. So these are the roadmaps as a special educator that I need to follow moving forward. Using UDL in the classroom is the most basic thing. UDL supports all the learners and is very inclusive in nature. It builds flexible lesson structures. I would be working on using low tech and high tech technology and assistive technologies, using more choice boards for student. If you want to do this, or you can do this into every unit planning before teaching. I would also make sure to reduce the need for any adaptations that I come across, let's say Facebook, Instagram, or like, okay, that teacher is doing this, so I might need to do this. No, I'm gonna do only what works best on for my classroom, and it should be data informed. If it's not data informed, I'm not using anything that I see online. And I will only use those things that would change based on the needs of my diverse learners. Second thing is family collaboration. I'm already working on this, like initiating more positive contacts, sending them a quick emails, chatting with them, and letting them know what they did best. Not only bombarding them with, oh, he did this today, and like negative news, but like more positive news. Yay, we did this and we did this for the first time, and looking forward. to seeing more such milestones together and hosting more IB sessions with families. And of course, they are the eco contributors in education. Using multimodal assessment, I would be standardizing the usage of pedagogical documentation. I would be relying more heavily on oral conferences and observation notes along with traditional student products like whatever they hand me in. It could be their drawing, art, picture, products, projects, quiz, assessments, anything. And last but not the least, I would collaborate regularly with special education resource teachers, our wonderful EAs, speech language pathologists, great partners, homeroom teachers to reflect on data, and then I will be defining student accommodations. And these are the references that I have used. And this brings me to the end of my presentation. Thank you so much.